to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pony drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message, hit the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Wan Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast, everybody. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, trying out a new intro that I did not like. So this Wednesday, I'm going to try out a different intro. One of these days, I'm going to find something that isn't, hey guys, welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast.
But you've been doing it so long.
That's what I use. Like, just because it's informal. We're not trying to be like, hello and welcome to another episode of learning about video games, but only one specific one. I'm your host, Adam.
I need the radio announcer. I need someone to be a wacky DJ.
No, you don't.
No. 5 a.m. on the drive time. Here's the Comedy Zoo with Adam Bonaforia Coxwell and the Trinity Force Podcast crew. That kind of thing.
Okay, if you pay Skyen to do it, then maybe I can get on board.
That's like the only time I'd be okay with it.
At his sleep laden, or no, excuse me,
deprived.
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 Not laden. Deprived. In his
he is very rested
stupor.
at 3 a.m. He's just
make us a new intro where it's like, welcome, on today's show, call in for $500. Skyen, did you just say something?
Did you not hear me?
Aha, it works! It wasn't working for a moment there. All right, that is it. We are good to go. We are pushing forward with this podcast. Skyen is obviously back. Hello, welcome, Skyen. I hope life is treating you very well.
Here to talk about Knife Lady Spider-Woman. I think that's her canonical name.
More or less.
I do like that guys who are Patreon donors don't know this, but on the back end, when we have our folders to put together for the champions, we have really weird names. That sounded like what the name for Camille would be, or Camille, depending on how it wants to go with this one, would be in our back end logs.
We've had Jump Bug, Tentacle Lady, I don't know, the other thing, like weird fish topper person. I don't know, like that was Fizz.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly like creative, but it was a lot more amusing than just having the champion name. So, Knife Lady Spider Legs is who we're talking about today.
Knife Lady Spider Legs. I love it. Yes, we're going to talk about Camille today, all of you. If you're a new listener, we bring Skyen on. He is of Caster Comics fame. He is a freelance artist and school goer, I guess, or university attendee.
University, yes. I'm over 20. It would be weird if I was in school.
Well, I mean, it's technically school, but yes, university attendee / freelance artist. So if you would like to commission him for any of your artwork, from avatars to anything much larger, you can find him over at TB Skyen on Twitter, also at castercomics with an X.com, and you can he will happily take care of any of your requests for just a little bit of a donation. Well, it's not really so much of a donation, but help him.
Please help me pay my rent and eat food. I like food.
We all like getting paid for our work. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's a weird thing to think about.
I pay you with hugs and awesome nicknames when we're at PAX.
Yeah, that's the favorite.
So Camille is the latest, the spider jumping knife wielding leg crazy.
So I'm the only one that got more of like a Bayonetta vibe out of her, and not like I didn't immediately go to the Spider-Man thing.
Yeah, sorta.
If you were like entirely melee Bayonetta, then yeah. That's actually
sure.
good.
There are obvious differences, but to me, like that seemed a lot more. It seemed like she was more along that vein than the actual Spider-Man thing going on.
Because the Bayonetta vibe is more sexual in nature.
Sure.
You don't know that yet. You don't know how sexual this character is. Have you played her? Do you know her voice lines?
I mean, they're all on YouTube. You can listen to
them. I think
she's sexual. She's a dominatrix.
I think the best. There's like two comparisons that have been made in terms of like not just Bayonetta, but the girl from Kingsman was one of the big ones, like the bad lady in Kingsman, and then I think one of the characters from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think the like general like Earth.
Oh
lady.
Yeah, she was
like those two like combined like had a love child, and it's Camille.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Was her name?
People are going to kill you for saying Camille.
I'm gonna say Camille.
You asked before we started, how do you say this, as though it wasn't Camille. So I'm gonna stick with something completely different.
Just in case I happen to say something wrong, because I famously said Maokai for a very, very long time, because for some reason I could not pronounce Maokai, and now I overpronounce the name to make sure I pronounce it. So I'm going to ask every time a champion comes out how you would say their name. At least I don't say Nidalee, okay? Freak. I'm looking at you.
All right, do you want to talk about this champion yet?
I was jumping right there. Yes, as I was about to say, if you're a new listener, Skyen comes on every once. I would say not once in a blue moon, but about once a month to come on and talk about a new champion as they are released, or if there's a rework of a champion, he'll come on and discuss we first discuss the art direction of the champion, then we'll discuss how the champion plays and what he or she does, or it, whatever it may be. So, Skyen, the soapbox is yours.
Thank you very much. And the thing to notice about Camille immediately is that everything about her is designed around the obvious thing, which is her giant blade legs. And she's very complete as a champion in that regard, in that everything about her is designed to have edges. Everything about her is sharp. You can tell with the little gloves she's got. They've got the flared base up around over her elbow, which has a sharp edge, which has a concave shape as well. This evokes blades. The two bits of her tailcoat that hang behind her have a blade shape, and of course the blade legs, and her hair, the way it's organized, is also based on blade shape. So everything about her really just reinforces the thing about being very, very sharp, being very, very distinct. And that also goes into, of course, the way they've designed her personality. And they've deliberately gone very dull on the color. Like she's gray and bluish gray and with a little bit of bright blue put in there. So she really she lives up to the moniker that she has in the lore, which is the Gray Lady. So she is very much this sort of embodiment of sort of British style poise and class, upper class, haughty assassin lady,
pure business
type of thing.
I would say pure business. That's probably the best way to describe her.
It's just
President Business from the Lego Movie. No,
Lego Movie was the best movie, but yeah, it's really it's kind of the same style of design, I think, as Kled was, in that it's something that's not designed to be ostentatious, but it's designed to be very, very sort of subtle and unobtrusive, and then they kind of leave all the visual spectacular effects to her abilities instead of putting them on her body. Like it's the opposite of something like the project skins, which are all about shiny visuals and busyness, whereas Camille is very understated in a lot of ways. Like it looks like she's just wearing like an aristocrat's tailcoat. Mm-hmm. And then she happens to have giant knife legs.
Well,
she kind of looks like she's already a project skin when it comes to her abilities, though. Like she looks like they like started with that. So like you could go back to like I don't think this has ever happened, like Stone Age Camille, where it's just like very rudimentary stuff, like items on her skin. I think would be very funny.
Pretty cool.
It'd be really ridiculous, but I think it'd be hilarious to see that as a joke skin.
They went with what program Camille as the alternative skin?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like they're kind of the same. I haven't actually looked at the skin things, but that just from what I've seen before.
The program.
The voice lines for program has a lot of taunts for the project skins. So I think there's some sort of internal lore thing going on where program and project are opposite things in the futuristic universe of whatever the fuck is going on.
Sort of like how the
Camille looks much more like a spider or an arachnid than traditional Camille does. I'm looking at Camille from the in-game point of view. It's all available on Surrender at 20 for those guys who are in here. I actually posted a picture of her in our Slack chat, so you can just take a look at it, what I'm looking at. And I'm kind of disappointed about her in-game model compared to the model that is, or compared to the splash art, because like you said, everything is very jagged. It's her hair is very defined. Her the blue is very defined. The gems are, you can pick out all the little fine details. And when you look at her model in game, like I'm nitpicking again. I look at her hair. Like the hair isn't as defined as it is in the splash art, where you can see, you can tell it's hair. It kind of looks more like blades, right? Like white blades
exactly.
She's wearing on top of her head. She has a very dull chest piece on. I mean, it's like a dull blue. She's got blues in the rest of her kits, and like I realize I realize they're doing that more because everything else in her kit is probably flashy with the way she moves around, but it's kind of boring just looking at her from the in-game standpoint.
See, I disagree. I really like pretty much everything going on with the in-game look, and part of it is because like this is the first look at Piltover militant style that we've ever really had the chance to see. Like when at least to me, when you think military in League of Legends, you pretty much only think of Demacia and Demacian champions and everything, and it's very like traditional high fantasy military. You don't have you don't like this is a very, very different take on it, and one that, in my opinion, was very much missing from the League of Legends canon. So that in like the design from that angle really, really intrigues me because, and this is also a side of Piltover that we haven't seen. We know it was the City of Progress, and you see all kinds of different kind of almost zany in their own way things going on with the various Piltover champions, but this like adds a level of I hesitate to say realism, but it definitely balances out what's going on in Piltover and very much changes our perspective of what that city is actually about.
Yeah, she's also I think the first bad guy from Piltover, or gray morality bad guy, but she is an assassin who murders the lower classes in order to keep balance in the power of Piltover, or however they wanted to frame it.
Just to back up and clarify, I got all that through the in-game model, and that's something I really, really like about it and everything. I know that's what you were talking about, Adam. I didn't want to just jump back into the lore and everything. I really like
fine. I was
everything that comes out at me.
If this show doesn't end with the Piltover song from Area Defect, I'm going to be very disappointed, Lancefer.
You failed?
Yes, because what is it, Piltover Progress? I don't remember what the hell the song is now. I can hear it in my head. But if I'm looking at the in-game model compared to the splash art, I realize she's walking through the shadows in the splash art. But I feel like there's more, like there's like more. It's like darker. Her splash art is darker. It's more. She looks a little more evil in her splash art. She looks or a little sinister is probably the actual correct word here. Where like the grays and the blacks all complement the blues very well. And you go in game and she's very bright. She has a lot of bright blues on the front of her kit. Or not bright, they're dull, but they're dull / bright blues on her kit, and it just her front, and it just doesn't look the same as the splash. So I don't get that same sinister feel when I'm looking at the in-game model that I do when I'm looking at the splash art.
No, that's probably a gameplay consideration in terms of if a champion is too dark and gray, they won't show up against the backdrop of Summoner's Rift.
That's
so fair. It's probably a clarity thing. But yeah, I do agree.
There's sort of a readability thing. You need to, or they're trying to like make it clear to us that her abilities are technology based, and that so the color blue that gets chosen is very often, at least within League, associated with technology in that regard, as opposed to like magic or anything, mysticism and all the everything along those lines. Would you feel the same way about the sinister look if Talon was not already in the game?
Yeah.
Like, to me, I look at her splash and just look at everything at the champion and think, this is what Talon should have been at launch and everything. This is a much more interesting assassin character than Riot Games' take on Assassin's Creed.
I think what's throwing me off is the fact that I look at Program Camille and everything is bright and obvious and distinct. Like all of her moves, like you can see everything that's going on, all of the colors that they draw me into the champion really well. Like I'm looking at her Q and her W, for example, and they're green and they're bright. They're green and yellows and they're bright. I like those colors more. While it may be a sinister look, it's not so much a sinister look. I get that sinister feel like a robot's trying to come murder me. Right, because she just has that look to her. The model for her face, maybe it's the 6 eyes type of thing from the like a spider. You see something that doesn't look like a human, and I think the Program Camille would it more fits the model of what I am looking for in this type of champion than the base. Not to say that Riot didn't hit the mark with what they're doing. I just think there could have maybe been some tweaks to it that would have given her more of a sinister feel.
I mean, they could absolutely have kind of hammed her up a little bit because, like I said, she's very, very understated in every single way. And I think that's something they did to gel with her, like her general voiceover thing, where she has a lot of voice lines where she's like, "Oh, that's too flashy," and you were not subtle enough, and that's unprofessional kind of thing. So I think
what they did with it. You know, like, I mean, everything you just said is what really makes me like the base champion model.
I'm
and I think that comes out. I just think that comes out. No, there's nothing wrong with discussion on it and everything. I just think all that stuff really, really comes out. And I mean, basically, what I'm liking about the champion are the things that you don't like about it. And I think, honestly, that's the sign of a successful champion from a design standpoint, that we can even have like strong opinions on both sides of the spectrum without ever even having touched her.
Isn't it kind of really cool to have, like, of the other Piltover characters, they're all kind of heroic and kind of bright and futuristic.
Yeah.
Like Jace kind of comes to mind. And then this one comes in that's like moral gray ground, and you like, but is still like that same, like, it's very obvious Piltover. It's very obviously advanced technology, but now maybe there's some infighting, whereas before we really haven't seen a lot of lore battles between like their own cities. I also don't know the lore that great, so please don't just shit on me for saying that later. But like, it seems like a nice contrast compared to everything else we know of Piltover.
And Skyen will certainly either correct me or elaborate further. The thing that we've gotten a lot of from this game so far is lots of battles between the varying city-states that are going on. And actually, I just learned that they're doing a bit of retconning with Piltover here. And changing specifically its relationship with Zon. I would like to see more of that type of stuff overall, because I like the idea of just cities constantly at war with one another is such a just like overused fantasy trope that it's really nice to see it see Riot get away from that and go into other more interesting areas. Not to say that, upper class versus lower class is necessarily a new trope, but I personally find it more interesting than, these two cities have philosophical differences, but we only know that because Riot told us they have philosophical differences.
Yeah, I mean, Piltover and Son used to be the distinction used to be that Son was mad science, which is monsters and mutants and crazy exploding machines, and Piltover was futuristic science, which is they're the Apple of League of Legends. Like, they make futuristic, cool designs that do useful, optimistic, forward-thinking things for progressive people, kind of. And that was the distinction that used to be. Now the distinction is that Piltover is for the upper classes, for the rich people, for people with money, for people with power and status, and Son is for people who are in the filth. Echo had some lore updates where one of the plot points in his lore update is that he gets harassed and assaulted by people from Piltover because he's from Son. And so there's a huge class war element in it now, which I think is more interesting as a commentary on that sort of thing, that scrappy science, that sort of that bootstrapped, jerry-rigged kind of science is something that you do when you don't have the cash to design something fancy and pure and aesthetically pleasing.
Sounds
so
like
I think there's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more thematic kind of tension between the two extremes of Piltover and Son now, I think.
I'm right there with you. It's a lot more interesting. And again, something the League of Legends world was desperately missing. We've only recently started to get closer looks at the varying societies. I guess we've always known quite a bit about Freljord, just how, like Ashe and Sejuani never saw eye to eye on anything. But like the Taric rework was where we actually started to get to see, take a different look at Demacia and what their actual goals and values are, as opposed to just generic fantasy heroes. It's like, oh no, this is like, they're not necessarily good people.
Well,
I wonder. Also
go ahead. I'll let you talk.
Sorry, thinking of lore, we never really have, besides like the updates to the lore or to maps or to like just when they release something about it. We don't really have anything that we play through that gives us any sort of idea of the game, like of the game's lore at all. And now I'm curious about if anyone even remembers this, because it's been a while since we've heard from it. The Mechs versus Minions game that's coming out soon, the co-op board game coming from Riot, might have something in it. It is already out. It says there's some kind of story. So my new roommate is getting it, and I'm very excited to try it out because apparently it's amazing. But maybe there'll be something in there. Like maybe they're going to branch out and give pieces of lore to different things over the near future. I really am excited to try that, and maybe there'll be something about it. But otherwise, like, we're not really like immersed in it. You kind of have to go search it out yourself, which for some people is awesome, but for others, they kind of want to like play the game and get the lore at the same time. If you're a story-driven kind of player,
if you look at something
Riot
like
are actually
Warcraft, for example, where Warcraft was built on lore. The entire game is about, and that's why people continue to play all the Warcraft games. They're so invested in the World of Warcraft because there's more lore. You're now invested in the Heroes of the Storm because you love the lore of Ragnaros and you want to play Ragnaros because you want to be that mighty elementalist god. You play Hearthstone because you love the lore behind all of these pieces they are bringing in there, and you feel connected to it. And I mean, I think Riot was kind of luck. It's not necessarily just luck to get as big as they are. I mean, you were right place, right time, and you made the right decisions at the right time, right, to grow the LCS. But had they had a solid lore before, we might be, I mean, obviously we'd be in a different place now, but might be in a better place now when it comes to game development and character development. They're not having to backtrack and retcon and try to figure out how they want to release new champions. Rather, they could have just gone off with their story. But I guess when you grow too big for your britches, that's kind of what happens, right?
It's sort of the opposite. Like the contrast between League of Legends and Overwatch is there as well, because again, League of Legends, as Riot are so fond of pointing out by way of excuse, is that League of Legends was just a thing. A bunch of people, we're going to do a Dota clone, and we're just going to throw some shit together in Adobe Air Client and see how it lands, and then it got popular. Whereas with something like Overwatch, which was designed from the ground up to be cohesive, that's where you really see the difference, where League of Legends has always been a little bit bootstrapped, a little bit, holy shit, how do we make this thing work now? And we're introducing a new thing, and now this old thing doesn't work anymore. Let's kill the summoners. Like, it's always been a little bit touch and go with League, and they're kind of, I think, trying internally, as far as I know, Riot are trying internally to kind of start unifying the lore and the aesthetic and all those sort of pieces of the game that have sort of been left behind in the enormous rush from like 50,000 players to 100 million.
Let's talk specifically about Camille and a little bit more about her lore. Because if you read through her lore, you realize that we keep bringing up the moral middle ground, the gray area of Camille and how she acts and what her personality is going to be like when you get into the game. I mean, we're going to hound on her abilities on how to play her over the next few podcasts. I really like kind of diving into the state of the character right now. And if you read through her lore, if I remember correctly, she can't protect her father in a battle. Her father dies. She's heartbroken about it. She's speaking with one of the the armor smiths, whatever it is, or one of the chief technology guys, and it's like, I want to be outfitted. Retrofit me with some fucking badass blade legs, right? Like, give me something to be able to fight these people with. And the guy basically says, marry me. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this to you, or, I don't want you to have this operation. Let's go off. And she's torn by it. Like, it literally says it in lore. She is torn by this decision, whether to avenge her father or run off and have a wonderful life with this other person. And she decides to get, fitted with some blade legs. And then she adds on the grappling hooks or whatever it may be. And I kind of like that story arc where, something happened. And now she has to make a moral decision on which road she wants to go down. I mean, it's kind of, Dom, you might think I think Dom would kind of feel like it's kind of tropey, but I kind of like that idea of having to have these big moral decisions of which way you could either be really good and do a lot for Piltover, or you could do a lot for Piltover in the shady underbelly of the city.
I mean, conflict and decisions, those are important. I didn't read all of the lore. I read the comic, but I missed the long form lore announcement and releases. So I am unfortunately uninformed on that front today. So I don't want to dive into I don't want to dive into and criticize anything or cast judgment on something that I haven't read. That just seems both unfair and disrespectful to the story.
I called you out because I thought you may have had already read it, being the resident lore expert.
Normally I do. I do look forward to the lore stuff. I wish Riot would do more lore events. I wish Riot would do some gameplay or game driven events beyond just the things we've had with Bilgewater. But I didn't read this one yet, so that's on me. Sorry, guys.
I think it's very funny that I'm looking through the lore right now, and I don't know if this is what is on the Riot site. I'm on LolWiki, and in the lore they have like linked like spots in the story where they're talking about her using her abilities, which I think is very amusing. Like it'll have like the woman spun around and it's got the W like blade spin.
Yeah,
like,
that's the wiki
there.
thing. It doesn't show up on the official lore website.
Okay, well it's pretty
That's
cool.
something the wiki does.
It's a nice little added visual benefit for those who don't have comics, I guess. And in this case, you have both comic and lore too.
Well,
But yeah, her lore is all about moral grays and manipulation and sort of high stakes aristocratic power games and things like that. So it is very much she's a thing of like the upper class kind of drama.
It's like
Downton Abbey, but with blade legs.
Dishonored a little bit, right? Doesn't that feel like Dishonored, the game? It's kind of my feel.
Based on what I've seen, it reminds me a lot of one of the characters from Dragon Age Inquisition, but I'm blanking on her name right now because there are so many freaking characters. The mage from.
It'd be great if we had like the next time a new character came out, we said, "Hey guys, everyone, figure out who this is most like in any other medium, and let's you have to state your case, and the winner is the one who's most convincing about it."
Heck yeah, I'm in. I think it'd be fun. Give me your long form case. It's
for who they are.
I think the last piece of her that I find interesting is the fact that she
Vivian.
Don't know who that is.
Oh yeah, Vivian from I see what you mean, Dragon Age.
Yeah, sorry, I had to go look it up. There's just so many freaking characters in that game, but Vivian. That's who she reminds me most of, or Camille reminds me most of.
So Camille,
I think Adam was saying something.
I'm just going to jump right into it. Sorry,
Not
I don't
important.
know. I would love to take part in a Dragon Age Inquisition, but I've never played the game, or discussion, but I've never played the game. So,
what's your guys' favorite route to take in that game?
my favorite route
I've never
is
played
the
it,
Camille gray area route. I think the last piece of the discussion is about. There's two things here. One, she has a Hextech heart and she has Hextech legs, right? And how much more does she add to her body before she becomes more machine than she is person? And I think she struggles with that herself.
She's more machine now than man.
So, you get these little internal struggles with these champions, and that's where I kind of wish we were at a point where League could take these lore pieces further, because that could be a fun plot line in the future where Camille decides, I'm going to augment my eye to get like a bionic eye, and now my abilities have changed. I mean, maybe you do that for a rework of the champion if her kit doesn't turn out to be right. But like there's always opportunities in every single one of these champion stories to augment the story to make it different, to change it, and we never see any of that. So
yeah, Riot tend to release something and then they just leave it there and then they release something else.
And that's
next.
so infuriating. Like it just they jump in so many different directions with the lore that you never get the full sense of like a brief story might be complete or something like that, but you never really feel like there was a significant amount of development.
Yeah,
I mean, we got some of that with Shurima, but then like they leave you wanting for more, and I guess that's good, and it's a good way to get people, involved. But if you leave somebody wanting for more, and then you don't ever give them more, they're gonna get annoyed and like lose interest in things.
And I've ranted about that a lot, and I've written articles about it, and I really do think that it's something Riot that doesn't fly anymore. Like it was fine when League was growing, but now they've got 130 champions. They've got over 130 champions. They've got 130 stories with no fucking resolution to them. They've got a bunch of outdated champions that they have to update just to keep them consistent with the universe they've built, and they've got like a whole fuck ton of regional narratives for Bilgewater and for Shurima, and it's like they never follow up on any of that shit. And I get that it's really hard when the game is that big, but they really need something like, I don't know what the fuck, novels or a webcomic or like just some sort of recurring thing where you can tune in next week to find out what happens here. And it really does annoy me too that Riot never bother to kind of expand on things. They just go, here's a really cool concept we came up with. Look at that for a while, and we'll come up with a new one.
It's such a rich tapestry that they're working with at this point. There are so many, like it's almost like the tapestry is actually like 7 or 8 different tapestries within the larger one. I mean, like there is so much fertile ground in this game, and like what they do is it is enjoyable. Even if I get nitpicky with different things along the way and frustrated with stuff, that's only because I want to see it be even better and I want more of it. It's there's so much out there that can be done, and it's not that they're not doing it quick enough, or they're not doing enough of it is really what it comes down to in my book. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. That flew when the game was, hey, this is an idea for the champion. Let's get all of the mechanics, everything figured it out, and then we'll tack on a story after the fact. The companies, they've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now. You would hope that they have a better system and a bigger goal. And I do know that they have all kinds of internal stuff, like in an internal library where there's a lot of information that we haven't received, in the public. But at a certain point, like, I would hope that they would get a little bit more aggressive on their lore release schedule.
Yeah, and it's got some consequences for League of Legends fandom. I for an article I wrote about it, I did some research on it, and on fanfiction.net, which is like the big fanfiction site for fanfiction for everything, like anything that has ever been made into media has fanfiction on that site. League of Legends, the biggest video game in the world, has about 3.3 thousand fanfics written for it. And that sounds pretty good until you realize that 3 different editions of CSI have more than twice as much fan fiction written about them. I think the main CSI series has like 20,000 fanfics. And that's CSI. That's like how many people watch that? 7 million? League of Legends has 100 million monthly players, and people haven't bothered, like the fans don't engage enough with the stories to write about them. Like people don't seem to have headcanons. They don't seem to tell stories about, oh, this champion is so cool. I imagine this story that this champion could take part of. Like, there's so little of it, and I think that's going to hurt League of Legends if it wants to be, like Riot keeps saying, if it wants to be a big kind of Star Wars, Pokemon-y kind of fixture of people's lives, a lifestyle product, whatever the hell they're saying about it. Like, they need to do something more with the characters and the lore, because right now they're so disposable. They're just figures to add kits to.
Yeah, the majority are. The large majority of the original ones. Like, I was thumbing through Camille's wiki as you were talking, and I happened to pull up Oriana because she's related. She's a Piltover faction, and her lore compared to Camille's is just a fraction of the amount. A guy is sad that his daughter died, so he made a clockwork daughter, right? That's Oriana's lore. That's all there is to it. With Camille, there's a comic, there's an entire story, there's a book. This is why we need the Journal of Justice back, goddammit. We need more of it.
That old mess.
Skyen, have you ever taken a look at the leaguefactions.net site?
No, I have not.
So there is a community that is dedicated to kind of coming up with fan fiction based stories and then using like actual games played to drive the results of said story.
Huh.
They will.
Why the fuck aren't Riot doing that?
I have wanted them to do that exact type of thing for so long. Like the Bilgewater event would have been a perfect opportunity to like have actual games played, have an impact on the outcome of the lore. It does add a lot of extra work because people will want the immediate satisfaction of the lore, and so you basically have to write 2 different endings to a story, of which one will never get seen, and so you don't get if you're getting paid to do the work, you want to feel validated by the work as far as publication goes, and that wouldn't happen. But from a community satisfaction standpoint, I think that would have a really positive effect.
Yeah.
Factions does this in a way, obviously it's all non-canon stuff, but it's really cool. And they try to get teams organized or they try to get the community organized into different teams, and you pick from a select champion pool based on the characters associated with whatever faction, and certain people are attributed as like mercenaries or invested for whatever with one side for whatever reason. And then you play games of Summoner's Rift, composing teams from those 2 pools, and then people register their results, and once that's all said and done, like that's how they drive their story forward.
Yeah. that seems like the most obvious thing. Really, Riot, please.
Yes, please make more money. Do something to make more money. I was just looking at the website. I think you brought this up to me a long time ago. Now that I look
Long
at it.
time ago.
I mean, I remember looking at this. I think when it first started, you brought this up to me. But let's move off of lore and all that. And let's talk a little bit about the abilities and how she plays in the game, because I know a lot of you are sitting around waiting for that. And furthermore, as I always say, no matter how long we go talking about background or lore or whatever it may be with the champion, we will always talk about their abilities, and we will always come back around to that champion after they've been played for a little while. So if you want some like in-depth discussion of how to play this champion and what happens, you gotta wait for them to be released. So I'm going to briefly talk about what her abilities do so that we can kind of talk about how she plays, because as with every new champion Riot releases, there's a lot to it. And the major points that you need to know is, one, she's super mobile. She can latch to a wall. She can jump over a wall with her second use of that ability. She can jump off of walls onto you. She can zone you so that you cannot move and have to face her. You have to duel her. And she can also gain a shield based on the type of damage that you do. So if you do primarily magic damage, she will gain a shield that blocks primarily magic damage. So those are like, and she has a slow. She's very mobile. She does a lot of damage. She gets a lot of attack speed. She's just like every champion. She's got tons of shit baked into her kit. And I feel like Serial needs to talk about it because he's been rather quiet this discussion.
I'm more of a gameplay focused person anyway, so that's probably why. But I would say that the mobility side of her isn't as cracked up as everyone might think. While she is able to, like you said, latch onto walls, she can do something where she can jump off a wall and then jump towards an opponent. She can jump over the wall she just latched to. She can do a lot with it, but after that point, she doesn't really have mobility to get out. She doesn't besides getting her Q to give her some move speed. She doesn't have any other dashes besides that, or except for I guess her ultimate, which is again more engagey. She's got go into your face engage tools and she'll duel the crap out of you. But I think that she will get played for a long time when she comes out as people thinking, oh, I saw this sweet play where she just killed all these people real quick because they dashed in and did this, and they'll all just fuck it up so many times because they jump in, miss something, and just get blown to shit because they after that engage, you got no mobility. But she's a great duelist. I love the look of her top lane potential in just 1v1 duels from level 1 on. I think is crazy because she has essentially two auto attack resets on her Q from level 1, has the second highest base AD in the game with 2 auto attack resets. So that's crazy. And you get move speed based on that. You get move speed based on that and the shield. So at level 1, you could have essentially 4 auto attacks in the time it should take you to do 2, get a shield and move speed. Yeah, okay. I think that level 1's like Darius level scary.
Shoot.
Now I want to see what happens when she goes up against Darius. Like, who wins that?
I don't want to see that. I don't want to play that.
She probably wins it just based on the fact that she has a shield.
Yeah, the shield helps. Plus, if the Darius goes W, he might have a chance. But against Q, she should be in range to with that move speed to not get hit by the outer edge. I think would keep her pretty healthy.
Cooldown on the shield's really short. It's 20 seconds at level 1.
Level 1.
And down to 10 by level 13.
Does it say how long it lasts for?
It does not get reduced by cooldown reduction, though, so it stays at 10 seconds.
Neither does Courage of the Colossus, and we've seen how good that is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we don't see a cooldown on how the shield works, and the shield is interesting because it's once you get that auto attack off with the 20 to 10 cooldown, as Dom was saying, you get a shield that's worth 20% of your maximum health for an unknown time that only blocks physical or magic damage based on the champion you hit. They calculate based on damage delta champions what Camille would want a shield versus. So if you're playing against like a team Teemo top who's probably done more magic damage to you that game than physical, it'll probably make a magic shield. But it also shows you that when your passive is up, there's a little like cross that's either blue or orange on your opposing champion that lets you know when you hit them, that's the shield you'll get. So that might be useful in later games when you're like, I need to get this specific type of shield if I'm going to dive in. And so you get your first auto onto a magic user. I don't know, whatever. But you could actually see that before you jump in and not just be like, I wonder what this will do.
I hadn't thought about that, and I really like that as a calculated decision that players are going to have to make. It's worth noting that she, per Riot Jag, she understands both her target's pre-mitigation damage as well as her own resistances, and that's how she decides the shield that she's going to get. And I only bring that up because what type of shield do you get against Jax or Kale? Those hybrid-y type champions where they're going to be building all kinds of different stats, and it's really easy to think that you want one type when in fact you want the other.
Depending on your resistances too. If you've built just straight armor but it's like a hybrid person, they might be like, well, we're giving you a magic shield. Like, okay,
yeah, cool. The game is smart enough to say this is the shield that's in your best interest in the situation. Presumably, that's what we're being told. We'll find out, but
it's also a design thing that makes her specifically vulnerable to mixed damage. Like I think it's designed to she can outduel a lot of people, but if you take something that has mixed damage against her, she's gonna have a lot more trouble dueling it out with her passive.
Really,
she does seem like a really smart counter pick into teams that are heavily weighted towards one type of damage. Like everybody's been on that team where somehow everybody except the marksman is dealing magic damage, or everybody's just dealing physical damage except for the support. And we don't know how we got there. We're praying like hell that we can win, but since all they have to do is buy a bunch of thorn mail, we're probably in trouble. She's like a really easy pick into that type of opponent.
Assuming the numbers line up, are we thinking like a new type of Fiora here with the dual potential and the potential to split push?
Even from the screens that I've seen, Fiora was the first person I thought of with everything.
Yeah, she's got the same kind of. She's got. It's really weird, the comparisons, because you have a persistent area in her ultimate, but in a completely different way, of course, where you essentially lock in an enemy target and they can't escape. And it does knock away opposing champions. I believe they can walk back in.
They can.
But the champion you have targeted cannot walk out until I think it's 4 seconds is over, and you get extra magic damage while you're to that target while you're in there.
Percent health damage even.
Percent health magic damage, where she does mostly physical damage. So she's even a mixed damage threat, which is awesome. Like I feel like she's going to be, for early screens and videos, maybe nerfed a little bit after release, but it's going to take a little bit of time for people to figure out how to play her. So like kind of like a not Aurelion Sol level of learning curve, but I think it's going to take a little bit more than I don't know, like a basic duelist kind of character. But hey, can we just run through abilities real quick?
Yeah,
just
go for it.
All right, so we talked about the passive. The Q is that auto attack reset, which is interesting. It's got a pretty low cooldown, very low mana cost. But when you use it, it's that auto attack reset that just does percent bonus physical damage. You get move speed for 1 second, which goes all the way up to 40%. It looks like this is probably a first max, and you can cast it again for in the next 3 seconds at no extra cost. So that's another auto attack reset. But if you use it a second and a half afterwards, if you wait a little bit to reuse that cast, a portion of the second Q's damage will be converted to, the bonus damage will be doubled, and a portion of that will be converted to true damage. So you can get a lot of more mixed, it's not even mixed damage, it's just adding true damage on top of your kit. So if you can be, what's the right word? Patient with it, I guess is good. But I think it also you get a little notification on the character model that it's like,
I bet she would
discipline's probably better.
It's called precision protocol, so that's that's the thing.
But you do get a little notifier, kind of like when Poppy's shield is up, when her pass is up, you see that like glowing buckler. Here you do get, I think, a glowing notification after that second and a half has passed, so you know that I can use it again and immediately get an auto and then an auto attack reset for a bunch of extra damage. Not crazy early on, but extra damage is extra damage in early end of lane, especially we're talking level 1. And then her W, because people have a lot of input. This one's really cool. It's like a roundhouse kick, but like with 2 separate zones as you move out, kind of like if you had like a, I don't know, 70-degree angle of Darius spin, except just like a very small angle of it, and the outer portion of it deals a bunch of extra damage and heals you. The inner portion doesn't deal that much. But you can move while you're waiting to cast. So you can see the little indicator showing that cone that it's going to hit in, and then you can, if you hit him in the outer edge, you get a heal. You slow targets for 90%. That decays over 2 seconds. So it's not insane, but 90 seconds is pretty crazy. And you heal for the bonus damage dealt, which is percent of target's maximum health in physical damage. So you have percentage target health and physical damage W, percentage max health and magic damage on your ultimate. This it's crazy.
Her
Yeah,
W.
it's also her only wave clear, pretty much. It's like
Oh,
the
yeah,
only
that's true.
AoE she has. So
Yeah.
I don't know how much you're gonna want to max it, but come the late game, if you're ever gonna split push with her, you're gonna need it.
And she's probably getting
TMI.
Hydra, so there's synergy there. This, of all of her abilities, seems like the one that's going to make or break her kit. I mean, Hookshot is easily the coolest of all of them, but it seems like the usability of this one in a fight, especially at higher MMR, seems like this is going to decide whether or not this champion succeeds or not, because this is a vulnerable champion. And if the windup feels like it's taking forever, she's being stationary when she doesn't want to be stationary, and that could really. It's not like it's Fiora's ability where she's just blocking and absorbing all of the damage and taking nothing for it. She's incredibly vulnerable during this time.
Well, she can move while she casts it, while she
Oh,
sets
she
it up.
can now.
Yeah.
No, she can.
During the cast time, she can move.
Okay.
The cast time very much reminds me of Darius Q. Like the amount of time where you hit Q and it takes before the swing
Even
happens.
then-
It looks very similar.
Even then, Darius is building tanky. Darius has a lot of built-in stuff. I mean, she's got the shield, but she has to have already auto-attacked something to do that. So you're not gonna, if you're like.
I meant more of
respond.
people listening to get an idea of how long it takes or how long you have till it pops. But yeah, her hook shot, that's the cool ability we've been hinting at. She kind of does a cool Attack on Titan little thing where she shoots hook shots at walls. If she hits a wall, she gets rooted to it, but means she can then dash to an area, stun a bunch of people in a pretty small range, but then also get bonus attack speed when she lands if she hits an enemy. So
She can only
getting the
stun
stun-
one person, right?
is it only one?
Yeah.
It says it
It
hits
Just
an enemy.
says
They're stunned.
nearby enemies.
Yeah.
1 second stun to nearby enemies.
Oh, it says
Yeah,
does say
but-
nearby enemies because it says if Camille hits an enemy with wall dive.
They are
stunned.
stunned. Yeah. So
That's
it's
interesting.
it's one stun, but she does do physical damage to all nearby enemies.
Right.
Where are you
When she
guys reading
lands.
that?
on
That's
the
well,
on the
It's
wall
on the
wiki.
second cast. Camille dashes in the target direction, which has double range if leaping towards a visible enemy champion. Upon hitting an enemy or reaching maximum range, Camille deals physical damage to all nearby enemies. So the damage is AoE, but the stun is single target.
Okay, the one I'm reading off Surrender at 20 is different. It says Camille leaps to wall, colliding with first enemy hit. Deals physical damage and a 1 second stun to nearby enemies.
Okay, so it could be either.
And it's
Either
got a-
way,
it's
it's
got a
not a
screen of
not a
the two
huge. I don't think it's a very gigantic area, but you're getting. It also is stopped by enemies. Like you can't dash like over top of enemies because it's a line skill shot, and you're stopped by enemies or reaching your max range. But like I said before, if you forgot, you can also use the second part of it to dash over the wall that you hooked to. So you're not. It's not like a. You can climb over a wall essentially with it. You're not limited to just like E and then like ricochet off. You can do some fun things with it. So like otherwise you'd like try to get over a wall to do a weird gank and just oh no, I can only just go back to where I was. That sucks. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's very sorry. It's very conditional mobility, and we're not used to that. It's definitely not Ezreal E or something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, it is a very, like we hit on earlier, it's a very one-way kind of thing. And her whole kit is like that. It's like when you choose to go in with Camille, you're going to go in and there's not going to be any way back out. So you have to kill something or succeed, because you don't have any escapes in your kit. You have to be ready to blow a flash if it goes wrong.
Yeah, your only escapes is to burst and use that 1 second of move speed to walk out and wait for your
Pretty
cooldown
much
of E to come back up.
You can also use your W as kind of like as an escape tool too, because that if you can get that 90% slow, obviously that's real good. But you can potentially like hit your Q, start a W, and if you had that move speed, you might be able to get out of range of the enemy so much so that they'd get hit by the outer edge of W and benefit from the slow.
Yeah.
The potential kiting tool. I again have not played her, so this is all a lot of theory that we're crafting. But then her ultimate we kind of touched on. It just makes that zone. For 4 seconds. It dashes towards an enemy target though, so it's not like you don't have to like be next to them to cast it, because that would be ridiculous and way too difficult to pull off. But I think you could use it.
This is that it knocks away anybody. Like if you jump onto an AD carry, it knocks everybody away like a Xin Zhao ultimate, leaving you.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's a huge area. Like it's the width of a lane. Like
but it's
huge
not like
hexagon.
It's not like Camille is untargetable or anything while she's in there. Like your teammates can do stuff to you or to Camille. They just can't get into the field.
Yeah, the dash to the enemy is untargetable, so they can't stop you getting there. But once you're there, if they have any CC at all, like you're fucked if you don't have something backing you up.
Yeah, I think the only limitations on once the field is up are only for Camille or for the locked in target. The locked in target can't leave, and if Camille leaves, the area goes away. But I think anyone else can come back in and do anything in there once it's been made. But during the process of making it, it knocks everyone out of there. That's an enemy.
Right.
So you can get like that dive potential though with a hook shot into her ultimate. That's nuts. You dive a back line, and suddenly they have to that scatters the entire tank line too. That they're screwed if you pull that off right. I think that's going to be what happens a lot of the time.
Xin Zhao as well, though, right? Like,
yeah, but he can't get in like that.
No,
he has to E and then flash ult to pull that off.
No, that's the big difference. Xin Zhao doesn't have a way to get in strategically. Yeah. He has to run at you and dash. But I mean, it's essentially the same concept, and we see how far that takes somebody like Xin. He has to be just a little bit above average. Now, Camille, I think her entire kit is above average enough that she's going to see play in some facet or another. Now, pro play, that's left up in the air. I think Camille's one of the first champions in a while that I look at and I go, I got no fucking clue. But I think that's because I don't know what the meta's going to be like coming into 7.1, right? Like,
it's up in the air.
Xin really, really telegraphs everything that he is going to do. Like, he runs at you know exactly what Xin is going to do. Camille is going to telegraph in some ways. Like, she's going to hook shot. You know she's going to do something, but it's not necessarily what you think she's going to do. And that is probably what makes her, really just a better champion than Xin in many respects.
I'm thinking about the knockaway on the ult, because theoretically what you could do is, if the AD carry gets out of position, gets in front of their support, if you get onto the support and then knock the AD carry further into your lane, then you don't get the bonus damage on the AD carry, but like you're a duelist, so you can kill them anyway. You knock them like deep into your lane where there's no escape. So I think you can also use it to you don't necessarily need to use it on the target that you want to kill. You can also use it on the target that's most likely to split the team up in a way that sets up a good fight for you.
And then there's also the question of, can Camille escape this field? If she can, is there value in just locking somebody else into this field thing for 4 seconds while the rest of the team can't get in?
If she leaves, it ends it.
Done.
Okay.
It breaks that.
She can't leave. That's not in the tooltip I'm looking at. Surrender at 20. So
what I don't know
is
it's
incomplete information there.
Yeah. Okay. Can you? I don't know if this is a thing yet. I don't know if you could hook shot to the edge of it. It'd be really funny if you could hook shot inside of your own ultimate and use that as a wall.
No, it's not a wall, so I don't think so.
I couldn't imagine you could.
I know she can.
Oh, that's what you mean.
She can hook shot to Anivia walls and shit like that. So
that's cool.
I thought you meant.
I'm starting to play Anivia, so
and just wait there or something. So
you can. There is a wait time that you can do on her E. Like you don't have to immediately cast the second portion of the wall dive. So you can wait.
So
yeah. I mean, you have a little bit. So there's a lot of options. There's so many options with this champion, which I think is going to be really cool to see her How do you think she's gonna do it against tanks? Like tank top laners, is she gonna try to just win at level 1 to 3, push them the fuck out, and then
like-
and if she doesn't, she loses.
She has so much percent health and true damage in her kit. Like if she lands her abilities correctly, I think she can take out any tank she wants.
Yeah.
I do wonder if we're quietly sneaking into like a meta where the most valuable things are the ability to create terrains or impassable fields like this.
Yeah,
Because there's only a handful of
Talia
champions that can do it. But yeah, Talia,
No, because Talia's
Jarvan,
been nerfed.
Anivia.
Talia got nerfed in the ground.
Oh yeah,
Jarvan's
I mean
not really that
Talia
great of
needs
a
to get
jungler.
buff.
I mean, I think we could, but you would have to see some buff because like Jarvan's not faring very well right now out of the jungle. I mean, he's probably 49-50%. I'm sure he's not a insanely above average. He's not like a Twitch at 56%.
He wouldn't do it. He needs to be able to blow people up. 52? Holy shit, he's top 10.
So
Yeah.
he is doing pretty well. No, but he's still not doing well enough that I think that he's outshining any of the other major junglers.
He's not played that much. I mean, 2.5%
Right.
isn't low, but it's also not one of the top jungle picks.
Malachi's a better jungler than he is, even if the stats
Who?
don't.
Jarvan's also top 10 in
okay.
top lane.
I only put so much weight into those because I guarantee not many people are playing those champions compared to the other ones. I mean, I'm sure he's good. Like Jarvan, I've always loved Jarvan. I'd play Jarvan anywhere, right? But like, Anivia just recently got like a weird. She got a change, right? Good, bad, indifferent, whatever however you want to argue for it.
It's an adjustment more than anything.
Yeah, Talia's not in a good spot at all right now because they nerfed the shit out of her Q. Like all the train
She is
champions
only
just
gonna
aren't doing
get
great.
worse.
But where I was going to go with this is that we were talking about weird interactions and things that you can do. Is that you can actually buffer her W while you are hook shotting, so that you can land the end of W as soon as you are landing with your hook shot.
It's kind of cool.
Excuse me.
That's going to take some effort to.
There are gonna be some highlight reels.
There's gonna be some highlight reels, and there's gonna be some low light reels, like a lot of those.
There's gonna be a lot of funny
She's
fuck
an
ups with her
Lee Sin.
ultimate.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe not to that level, but yeah, she will be the one who's like, you just see somebody miss everything and be like, and just say and type lag and immediately disconnect from the game.
I hit everything in type lag. Like, oh fuck, I died, but I hit everything. Lag, stop hitting me. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, right? But I think we've pretty much run down everything.
We need to play
and run
her.
my jokes into the ground too because they're terrible. Yeah, we need to play her. We need to either jump on the PBE. She should be out relatively shortly.
Yeah, I think she comes out Wednesday. So
We'll play her.
or
this
no,
weekend.
she comes out. I think she comes out this week. Patch is probably Wednesday, but
Batch maintenance already been
She's on her
announced.
way.
I think that's it. I think we're gonna go ahead and just end it there. I know it's kind of might be abrupt, but we've pretty much run down her kit. There's not really too much more to say about her without playing her. We have a lot of ideas that could come to fruition. We'll see what happens, and Monday we'll come back with some more Camille talk because we'll try to play her this weekend if we can. Skyen, do
quick
you have
reminder.
what?
Quick reminder. Ranked starts on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah, if you want to play ranked, starts on Wednesday. You don't
We'll
have to
do
jump in right
promos.
away.
Don't. It's a bad idea.
Right. I'm not jumping in on Wednesday. I'm gonna wait a little while. I'm probably gonna wait till the new year, personally.
I'm gonna wait until the challengers have left my fucking bronze division.
Also kind of a small, I guess, update. If you guys paid attention to the subreddit or even heard us talk about it occasionally, there was a ranked night that was happening on Tuesdays for a long time. This is being updated to the T-Force Community Game Night, according to Thaladin. It was posted on, I think it's our top post right now. So I just hop in Discord. People are going to be playing a lot of different games. I think that's maybe going to, I don't know if that's because ranked isn't going on right now or because we're just trying to expand a little bit. Because I don't know, we have some podcasts that cover other video games besides League of Legends.
Thallium and I had a discussion about Rank Night. It was a very short-lived discussion where I said, hey, we have a lot of other podcasts doing a lot of other games. We should really just turn Tuesday nights instead of the League of Legends Rank Night. We should turn that into the T-Force Community Game Night so that anybody can feel free to come play Overwatch or Heroes of the Storm or whatever, the Gears of War 4 if you want to play that. Just come into Looking for Group channel and say, I'm looking for this. Spam it all day. If you're looking for people to play, come to our subreddit and play it. But yeah, starting tomorrow, which is Tuesday night, and every Tuesday night after that, there will be a T-Force community game night where we get together and play games. So please come join and play any game. Doesn't have to be League of Legends. If you want to play Overwatch, come play Overwatch. The Into the Irish people would love to play with you.
Into the Irish?
Iris.
Sounds like a fun podcast. No, I like Into the
Into the
Irish.
Irish, don't you know?
I want to be on that podcast.
I'm
I
sure
don't
you
know what
do.
it would be, but
Where
it would
everybody
be
has bad
probably
Irish accents.
Turns out
I
I like accent jokes. I hate puns.
I'm going to put Serial on the Slap the Bag podcast, which each week he gives you a better technique on how to slap the bag properly.
Not a best.
No. What it would be is I get hammered on boxed wine and do a soapbox that I just record by myself and we upload it and then I listen to it the next day to find out what I said.
So instead of soapbox, it'd be Serial's wine box.
Actually, you know what would be better? it would be I record that and then I live stream. Yeah, whatever. I live stream it. I live stream me listening to it and commentating on it because I don't remember it and just be like, oh God, what did I say?
I would love to see this happen. The next time you get drunk, will you please try to record something?
I mean,
If
that's
you-
not
Later
too bad.
tonight, can you please try to record something?
Jeez, it's not later tonight. We threw a beer Olympics this past weekend, and that was fun because we had Mario Kart and Survivor Flip Cup.
Yeah,
Tons of other games.
one last thing. Speaking of Mario Kart, if you want to see my
What?
wife and I fail at Mario Kart, it's on YouTube. I get very heated because I'm fucking awful at Mario Kart. Just terrible at it. Yeah, she and I have been recording ourselves playing video games together, and I can't post the one video of us playing Mario Party because she rage quit on me halfway through it because she got so mad. And it was just us playing.
She won't share it.
No,
She doesn't want you to post it.
No.
Oh,
Well,
but you can tell everybody, and that's okay.
yeah, it's fine. Well,
We
I was
had a-
down,
we-
I was down a solid like 20 stars and came back to be like 80 stars ahead or something. So she got.
What the fuck happened to Mario Party? I thought you got like 4 stars and that was a winning game. What the 80?
I might be exaggerating, but it was something like a solid 50
That
stars.
game series is being
okay.
made.
Okay, yeah.
And this is the old Wii version of it. That's the only one we had. We don't have like any of the newer ones. Not even like N64 or even older. So
No, we were playing on N64, and a girl had never played N64 before, and so she thought it was like Wii and was like turning the controller and like
God.
moving her body as she was going. It didn't go
We're
great.
so old.
And that's how people. That's what some people did, even just growing up. You know, they just it was.
all the time. Anyway,
That's
this
what my
is
mom used to do whenever she would try to play Nintendo with me. She would
I
always.
mean, if you
like,
think about it, like it's not like it's immediately intuitive to most people. It makes more sense to try to direct them than to push a button and turn them into a rocket.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it there. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Trinity Force Podcast. Please go check out TB Skyen on Twitter. Go check out Caster Comics with an X. Are those coming out weekly, bi-weekly, whenever the fuck you feel like putting them out?
They come out whenever the fuck I feel like it. But the project I'm working on right now is a webcomic based on the Star Guardians line of skins in League of Legends.
Whose fault is that?
Yeah, I know. Because like I ranted a lot earlier about how Riot isn't doing enough with lore, so I tried to do something about it myself. So if you want to support that, please, for the love of God, log on to my website, read the comic, like it, maybe support it on Patreon. That's an option if you want to. Or just come watch me do some damn stupid comics and laugh at my incompetence, like you do with this podcast.
That's right. We love you, Skyen. Thank
obscure
you
at
so
this
much for
fault.
coming on the podcast. Thank you for everything, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Trinity Force Network. Please continue to support us as well on Patreon. Please subscribe to Skyen. Is Caster Comics on Patreon? Is it Caster Comics or is it TV Skyen?
Yeah,
I can
it's
never
Caster
remember.
Comics.
There we go, guys. We will see you all on Wednesday with patch 6.24 discussion. Peace.
Bye.
Later.